Hello. Well, today I wanted to talk about a film that is 40 years old, and also it's kind of interesting how, I've, in terms of watching this film um, over the years. So I was like 9 or 10 when I actually watched the whole thing from beginning to end. Um, and that film is Witness, starring Harrison Ford. Um, I think the description on the back is very good. It gives anybody who has never seen this film a very good idea what it's about. When a young Amish boy inadvertently witnesses a brutal murder while en route to Philadelphia with his recently widowed mother, Rachel, uh, Detective John Book is assigned the case with the perpetrators desperate to silence the sole witness. Book and his two wards are forced to hide out in the heart of Amish country. As passions between uh, Book and Rachel ignite, the killers close in, culminating in a dramatic life and death clash of cultures that will change the lives of those involved forever. Um, Harrison Ford, obviously, he's John Book. Um, Kelly McGillis uh, plays Rachel, and this film is directed by Peter Wier, who made Picnic at Hanging Rock, The Truman Show, and Master and Commander. Um, just to give a reference as to what the kind of films that he's made. Um, Obviously, this is the Arrow release, and as I said before, when I first got this and I showed it, which I'm not going to exactly show the full-on poster and stuff like I did before. Um, I will show what the alternate cover looks like. There he is, John Book in Amish country. Um, uh, Lucas Hawes plays Samuel, the boy. Uh, Danny Glover plays the main guy who he saw uh, kill another person who was also a cop. McPhee, uh, he is a narcotics officer, and there's corruption going on within the department, and so that's kind of why all of this really goes on, as intently as it does. Um, Also, this was Viggo Mortensen's first film. So if you really wanted to see a young Viggo Mortensen, especially as an Amish person or somebody who's Amish, maybe that's definitely definitely worth watching for that. Um, Also, Alexander uh, Gutenov is in this film. You know him as the long haired blonde terrorist from Die Hard. So if you've seen that film, you know exactly who he is. He's also Amish. Um, Another reason why they have to go and hide, particularly in uh, uh, back at their home and outside of Philadelphia, is because obviously they're being hunted after, but also another reason he has to lay low around there is because he got shot by Danny Glover, and yeah. the cinematography of this film is really amazing. It's excellent. Um, and over the course of the film, uh, there is a genuine respect and admiration that the Amish and John Book have for each other. Um, and of course, Rachel and him seem to have seem to be falling in love, but also it's like, it's a situation like, well, they're both very different because, she's Amish, he's not. He's from the big city, he's from Philadelphia. And she's, yeah, she is not at all, exactly accustomed to the sort of hustle and bustle of the city. Obviously, she and everybody knows about it. They all go to town to get certain things. Um, they're all farmers and everything. And there's a great scene in the film where you see the Amish build an entire like a building, like a barn, um, from like there's nothing, and then by the end of the day, you just see this huge building that was constructed in a matter of hours from the Amish men, and of course John Book helps, and there's Viggo Mortensen. Hopefully you can see pretty well, but yeah, it's amazing how he would become such a well known and beloved actor. Um, and also, this film was before Lethal Weapon, so you get to see Danny Glover as a cop before he was Murtaugh. Um, this film was was a pretty big success, and it got nominated for many awards. Uh, and Harrison Ford got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. He did not win. That went to William Hurt in Kiss of the Spider Woman. Um, I always liked John Voight's performance in Runaway Train. Um, but that's me. But Ford was excellent, and I would not have necessarily minded that if him winning. And not that William Hurt was bad at all. I'm not trying to say that or anything, because he was not bad in Kiss of the Spider Woman. But I don't know. There was just something about Voight that I really liked in the film. But maybe one day when I talk about that film, I'll perhaps get into why. But Ford was really excellent, and he was very thankful, for this part. And there's like documentaries and stuff on here, and about the making of the film. And I specifically remember that he was very happy for this film. Uh, Particularly the success, because he said I was finally able to have actual, success without George Lucas or Steven Spielberg involvement. And nothing against either of those two, especially George Lucas. I mean, he cast him in American Graffiti, which was a huge success, even though that didn't really do anything for Ford's career, unfortunately. And he worked with Coppola a few times, The Conversation after Graffiti. But that was a fairly small part. And then, of course, years later, he was in Apocalypse Now. Again, a small part, even smaller than The Conversation. But, of course, there was Star Wars. And that was huge. And that made him a star. Made him Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher stars. And then, of course, did Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was pretty huge. George Lucas created that character and um, helped write and produce that film with Spielberg as the director. And they, of course, did Temple of Doom after that. Um, between Raiders and Return of the Jedi, there was Blade Runner, which became a cult film, but at the time it was not a huge success. Like it, because mainly because of E.T. That was the big reason why that film didn't do so well as it perhaps could have done um, had it come like later on, like perhaps later in the year. Um, but his huge successes pretty much involved working on a film where George Lucas was involved. American Graffiti, the Star Wars trilogy, um, Indiana Jones. I mean, conversation was very good. Obviously, I enjoyed that film. Very well revered film. Uh, Same for Apocalypse Now, but in those two, he was not huge. Whereas this, he is the lead. Star Wars, he was a supporting character because Luke Skywalker is the main character of the Star Wars trilogy. He's the lead in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but in Indiana Jones, obviously. But um, any accolades those films would get, Indiana Jones or Star Wars, none are really going to come his way in terms of like Academy Awards. But for this film, and it isn't just the Oscar nomination; it was just the overall film itself with him as the clear lead without Spielberg and Lucas. That he's like, he believed he finally was able to have real success without those two involved in any way. Because again, he loves them and appreciates the work they've done as well as how they helped his career. But at a certain point, if we're like an actor, you want to try to go beyond working with certain directors that when working with them, there's going to be a good amount of success. Um, Witness was that big success for Ford, and of course, years later, he's still very well revered and liked by everybody. Really, he's great in this film. Everybody is great in this film. Every actor and actress. This was filmed, I believe, on actual Amish land. Where after this, it was decided that if any film is going to feature the Amish, it's going to be somewhere else where it's like, yeah, this is like the kind of land Amish people would live, but we're not going to really shoot a film with where real Amish people live and everything, because it's just like kind of not necessarily not all that great, basically. But regardless, it's an excellent film. Everyone involved was great. Yeah, this release has a vintage 1985 interview with Harrison Ford talking to Bobby Wingate, as well as a 5-part archival documentary called Between Two Worlds about the making of the film. And this is just an excellent film. Peter Wier, unfortunately, has made a film in many years. He was a very excellent director. I was not the biggest fan of Picnic on Hanging Rock. That's just me. Also, I think I attributed that to, you hear about certain films, like they're just so phenomenal and amazing, and you kind of have these certain expectations. And that's not always the best way to go. You should just watch it, you hear it's good, just go in with the hope of this is regarded as a good movie. Hopefully, it will you know uh, hit that mark and perhaps better. It'll be a great movie. That was my bad, and I do intend to someday watch that film again, so that I can like enough time has gone on. I guess perhaps that's now, but I could watch it again now, but still, I was just kind of thinking that when I'm like, oh yeah, he made that film, yeah. But Truman Show is also good, as is Master and Commander. I think those three films would also be good to watch. This is a good film, but yeah, it's really cool to just hear how Ford was very happy for this film. Like, just you can tell just how really invested in it and engaged he was making this movie. The chemistry between him and Kelly McGillis is very good. It's excellent. Um, yeah, everybody put their A game was there with her A game. Lucas Haas is excellent in this film. Um, I do wish that the documentary did include, Danny Glover, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But yeah, and also how John Book finds out who the murderer is that Lucas Haas saw. It's just so well done. It's amazing. If you've never watched it, watch this film, and when you see that scene, it's just like the way it happens. It is just so good. Um, I don't want to overhype it at all, but I probably am, unfortunately, unintentionally, but still, this film is excellent. And I think perhaps even underrated to a good degree. This did get nominated for some Oscars, Best Picture and Director. Won two, including original screenplay. And it is an excellent script. Like, the writing is fantastic. I believe like sound or sound editing was also the other thing it won. Another a technical award. But yeah, it says this is a career best performance from Harrison Ford, which I do agree with. I love obviously Star Wars. Han Solo will probably be my favorite character he has ever played. In terms of best performance, I would say yes, this is probably his best. Similar to Roy Scheider, Chief Brody in Jaws, my favorite performance he's given. Best performance, I would say, All That Jazz. That's just another thing. I have said it in the past, like how sometimes like my favorite performance and what I would consider someone's best performance, like Christian Bale. For me, that's Bruce Wayne Batman and the Dark Knight trilogy. Sometimes those do overlap with me. Sometimes they don't. It really just depends. Batman will be his Christian Bale's most well-known performance for like the end of time. He's Batman. He will always be Batman. He's happy to be Batman. But I understand people saying, American Psycho. That's his best performance, or The Fighter, which got him an Oscar. And getting an Oscar or an Oscar nomination doesn't obviously mean that's their absolute best work. Sometimes like their best work one's best work does not get them an Oscar nomination. Be it that a shame or kind of understandable, perhaps like Um, Given the competition of a certain year, yeah, them not being nominated does make sense. Um, or perhaps if it's like a genre film like Batman, that's a superhero film. Um, Heath Ledger got nominated, but he did not. I think he could have been nominated. Whether he would have won for like The Dark Knight, that's another question. Obviously, you know, you know, and I'll give you if he was nominated, would he have won? Maybe not, but that would have been cool. Batman and the Joker nominated the same year. Um, but yeah, here is like, yeah, Han Solo finally got nominated for an Oscar. Um, and there's The Long Walk, and that Mark Hamill did, which there's some Oscar talk, like of his performance, being excellent and everything. And I think he's a fine actor. I've said that before, like in the previous video. I think he's a very fine actor. Unfortunately, just never really got his due um, because of Luke Skywalker, which, for him, he loves the character. And Han Solo does, or Harrison Ford does like Han Solo. Um, Obviously, there is the whole thing that he wanted him dead in Return of the Jedi, but that's because he thought he kind of would have brought some stakes to the film. George Lucas was like, no. Um, but yeah, maybe it'd be kind of cool to see Mark Hamill perhaps get his due in a way. Not necessarily in terms of being nominated for an Oscar, but um, just getting a certain recognition that Harrison Ford got. Even Carrie Fisher sort of got that. I mean, he did have voiceover work, but in terms of his live action performances, he's never really gotten his due. Plus, Carrie Fisher also was a writer. She helped do script doctor work. She helped George Lucas with the prequel trilogy. And yeah, Ford, obviously, he got to, of those three, he got to have huge success beyond Star Wars. Obviously, Han Solo, people will probably remember Harrison Ford for that first, and then Indiana Jones second. But he's excellent in this, and if you've never watched this film, it's definitely worth a watch because um, you can definitely see, like, yes, this man is excellent. He's phenomenal in this role. Um, yeah. And this is on in 4K. I got the Blu-ray because it had been a while since I watched this film, and I'm like, I just kind of want to watch it again. It's a 4K transfer also, so it's restored in 4K. So it's probably the best restoration, the best looking Blu-ray. Um, uh, of this film, as well, and the cinematography again is phenomenal. I believe it lost cinematography because I believe again, sound editing is what the second Oscar win was for. And I didn't look about what beat this for cinematography, but I mean, just watching this, I mean, the look of this film is amazing. It's just fantastic. I, yeah, I love this film. The acting again is phenomenal. Um, Kelly McGillis, I think she could have possibly gotten nominated for an Oscar. I believe she got nominated for a Golden Globe for actress in a drama or supporting actress. Yeah, it's a supporting actress, and then best actress for like the BAFTA, which is interesting. I wonder what would she would have been nominated for an Oscar, like lead or supporting. Because I could see her as the lead, co-lead with Harrison Ford. Um, I think that would make sense. But supporting, maybe they thought she would have gotten a better chance at winning. You know, but yeah, Witness, very good film. I know I kind of rambled here and there, but hopefully at the end of the day, it was all fairly coherent and wrapped around with a certain point, and with the whole Mark Hamill thing. I mean, it would be cool to see him get his due. I mean, in live action form, obviously in the voice acting world, he's incredibly respected. But for his live action work, beyond Luke Skywalker, there really isn't too many parts where people are like, oh yeah, uh, Mark Hamill was phenomenal here. And not that he isn't good in those other parts that he has done live action. It's just like the quality of the films and stuff wasn't always the greatest for him, especially right after Star Wars. Whereas Harrison Ford, he was able to really show, with Raiders of the Lost Ark, with Indiana Jones and Blade Runner. That became a cult film, and this really, helped show people that Harrison Ford was able to be more than just Han Solo. Those films, and if Mark Hamill's able to get some work like that beyond the voice acting stuff, that'd be amazing. Um, and good for him. But yes, Witness. I don't know if you could see this streaming somewhere. I mean, it is a Paramount film, so my guess would be if you just have streaming and you don't really get Blu-rays or anything. Um, yeah, Paramount Plus, I guess, would be perhaps a good place to look. Otherwise, I wouldn't know really where this would be. But yeah, Arrow has an excellent Arrow Home Video. Their Blu-ray is excellent. Um, Region A, so just keep that in mind if you uh, live outside of where Region A is. You'll need a 4K player, but this is also in 4K. So, which is, if you have a 4K player, then yeah, that's region free, so you should be able to play it no problem. But again, up to you guys if you're gonna buy this. But I would recommend the Arrow version because it's excellent. The quality is phenomenal, and yeah, I've rambled on, I guess, enough. So hopefully this was interesting. If not, apologies. Um, but I've wanted to just talk about this, and I figured it's 40 years old. Might as well talk about it because, yeah, the year is almost over. We are in December. So, yeah, I hope all of you are having a great day. Hope you'll have a great weekend and a great week. Hope your month is good. Hope December is off well. And yeah, please have a great day and a great weekend. I will see you all next time. Bye.